Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. And yes, we're live right now. And welcome to our So Far So Good with PropertyLimBrothers. And thank you for tuning in with us. So if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, do remember every round when we have a session with our guests, you are always welcome to key in any for questions that you want to ask relating to today's topic. So you can just key in right in the comment section down below, and then later we'll feature your question, and then we will do our best to answer as many questions as we can. So, going straight to today's topic, before I bring on the guest of today, we have a very special guest, and I think this topic is a very understated topic because a lot of people probably do not know what is chartered surveying all about. And today we have a guest who is an expert when it comes to chartered surveying. He wears many hats, so maybe just a brief introduction before I bring him onto our show. So today we have Jake, and Jake is the director of ZLC, and ZLC specializes in interior renovation and construction. And guess what? He is also a certified chartered surveyor with RICS, which is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyor, and this is a worldwide recognition kind of certification that once you have it, then you can be an official professional chartered surveyor. He is also a resident surveyor with Absolute Inspection, who does a lot of inspection works for properties that are obtaining TOP. And the fourth hat that he's wearing is he's right now an adjunct lecturer with the BCA Academy, and he is at current lecturing students in the diploma course with BCA Academy, and he specializes in teaching project management and technical drawing. So he has a lot of things on his plate, and he's not very old. He's quite a young dad, and I think I'll bring him on, and then we'll chat from there. Hi, Jake. Hello,
Melvin.
Jake. Are you here? Hey, hello. Hi, Jake. How
Yep.
are you? How are you
Hi,
doing?
hi, Melvin. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I mean, based on my introduction, I think you wear like four hats. I mean, how do you do this? How do you do this? And then you're a father as well. You know, like how do you run your business yet teaching people at the same time and stuff? Yeah, maybe for our audience, just give a brief introduction about the things that you're doing.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm Jake from ZL Construction. This is actually a third generation family business.
Right.
Yeah, so we started really doing homes, F&B, uh, those shop houses. But I think over the decade or so, we have really moved on to residential projects mostly. Yeah, then the other part of me is also doing the chartered surveying part. Yeah, so we'll talk more about the charter surveying part later, but that is also because of my interest to delve deep into the industry.
Right.
Yeah, then in terms of the teaching part, I'm of the nature of nurturing. So I really like teaching. So this has been a task I've been doing for the past 6, 7 years, BC Academy. So the sense of satisfaction to nurture new young adults, I think that's satisfying.
Okay. Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then the other part about the parent, I think this is the part about having a supportive family, supporting wife. Yeah, then taking the fourth head as the dad. I think that is really yep about us.
Okay, great. It's great having you. I
Yes.
mean, it's not easy to find an expert in chartered surveying, and I think our audience will be very keen to know what is this topic all about, and then how can it help them when it comes to buying their property, and when it comes to maybe if it's a landed before they rebuild, during and after, and where does chartered surveying actually comes in? Because I think this topic has not been well so-called like populated in a sense whereby a lot of people probably are not in tune with this exact term. So I think today is great having you, Jake. And maybe before we dive into the topic, just want to chat. You know how has like COVID-19 during this circuit breaker? How has it been for the renovation industry? I mean, last week we had the co-founder of Canvas with us, and then we chatted a little bit about the
Mm.
impact that it has on people's consumers' renovation timeline. At the same time, what are the impact for renovation contractors as well? So how has it been like since phase one has reopened? Like how has the timeline been so far for you?
Mm. Okay. So for the COVID, since the COVID restart, right? The whole slew of measures, the application. I think the direct impact is on the contractors. That's for sure the main contractor. But the downstream of subcontractors, I think that these are the folks that's getting the brunt of the impact. Somehow, because as you go taper down the value chain, these skilled workers are usually very good in their trade. So they may not be too savvy in terms of the application, the paperwork. So that actually has a bit of a tapering, a lag effect. So as of now, I would say that the main contractor, big boys, are mostly on board already. That means they're ready to go. But I would say a good 40%, 50% of the downstream, the specialists, the actual technical folks doing the work. If they are a small outfit, one, two folks, to get all the necessary approvals and all those, there's still a little bit of lag effect. So overall, yeah, the impact, the timeline will be there. The other thing is also on the supply chain logistic portion. So products to come from all over the world. So if we are talking about airport, seaport, there's still a direct impact. So I think a word of caution is that whatever the timeline is that we agreed, or the clients or folks are thinking of, I do have a little bit of buffer in that. So anything from 3 to 4 weeks of buffer, I think it's reasonable for now.
Right. So, for example, if let's say somebody is renovating their condominium that they have just bought, maybe before the circuit breaker, and then they just receive their keys to the resale property, and usually, I mean, for condos, if you're doing like some hacking works of the bathrooms, and then maybe laying the entire place with vinyl tiles and doing some wet works in the kitchen, carpentry and stuff like that. Usually, I mean, for condominiums, because of the stricter timelines for the contractor to exit and enter the place, right, it's usually about 2 months to maybe 3 months, right? So for now, because I understand that there are some restrictions, like you mentioned previously and probably over some of the media, is that contractors now can have to take turns to go in. I mean, different subcons have to take turns to go in, right? So for this kind of project, let's say if it's like a 3 or 4 bedroom condominium resale, what is the best time frame right now, planning forward towards phase 1 and phase 2? Like, will it still be like 2 months plus another 4 weeks or something?
Yeah, so I will add that to coincide with what I shared earlier on, if it's a standard timeline of say 2 months to 2 months, do factor about 3 weeks to four weeks extra. Yeah, because as part of the safe measures to restart, it is recommended, I would say mandated lah. That at any one point there should be only one team of trade to be in. So as opposed to previous time where you can coincide to have 5 trades, 6 trades altogether, but now because of eliminating any cross contamination, or not, I would say cross passing of this potential issue. So that is really the things have to go sequential. So definitely the timeline will be lag. So again, back to that, it's probably a 3 to 4 weeks extra to factor all the cushioning.
Right. Because that affects usual home buyers, because probably some of them are currently renting at the moment, or they're during the transition phase. Maybe they're staying with their parents and stuff. So I think having known the timeline from your end will definitely help everybody to plan better. I mean, not to mention, I mean, for rebuilding, I mean, let's say if it's a landed property, somebody is planning to tear down and rebuild, definitely this process will be much lengthened as well. What do you think for landed properties?
Yeah, I think definitely so. For construction projects, rebuilding A&A, this is a whole level of compliance again. So renovation in the realm of this application is the easier route. When you come to construction site, there are a whole host of SDO, SMO, and the regime that's involved will be much more. So I will again factor in whatever the timeline that we agreed on based on the scope. Do factor a good at least 20% more extra buffer.
Right.
Factor that. It's, again, that part for rebuilding, for construction works, the supply chain will be much affected again, because the quantum is larger in terms of the area, the element, the building element, the items. So again, the bigger the impact the item is, you are expecting the lead time, the people involved, the logistics involved, the installers involved will be magnified. So factor, I would say 20% extra time buffer for that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think for this this season. I mean, definitely this impact will probably drag on for a little bit. With the safety measures and safe opening and stuff. So I mean, this is something that everybody will have to get used to. I think. And yeah, maybe let's head on to today's topic, right? Talking about chartered surveying. What is
Sure.
chartered surveying, Jake? How do we understand
Okay.
this from
So
a
this is,
layman?
you are
A
right.
layman.
This is a little known profession in the whole industry, but this the importance and the usage of a chartered surveyor is very prevalent in the UK, in the Scotland, which is where it originated in RSES from Scotland. So the whole idea of it is that being a chartered surveyor, it represents the highest standing, the qualification in the built industry. So within the built industry, there are a lot of divisions of expertise. They could be feasibility studies, they could be valuation, project management, a lot more other stuff. Yeah. So at the end of the day, this association, they want to recognize that being the pinnacle of the expert domain knowledge and how you exhibit the domain knowledge to then execute the works out in the ground. Yeah.
Mm.
So for myself, I specialize in two ways. One is the building surveying portion as well as the project management portion. So, and in terms of how this chartered surveyor can come in, we call ourselves BS, building surveyors.
Building surveyor. Okay.
How really, yeah, building surveyor. So it sounds a bit BS. So how the chartered surveyor can come in really is that there are three stages how it really can be very effective. One is what we talk about pre-purchase. So
Mm.
pre-purchase is the fact that before we invest in any property in Singapore, especially property, it's a key asset, and we're talking about breaking the millions and so on and so forth. So we are thinking that before you make the big ticket item, a chartered surveyor, which is familiar with all the construction sequences, I wouldn't say all, but a majority, the key ones and the important, the critical ones, be involved, head down, see if there's anything that is non-compliant. If we talk about landed, so we can spot certain non-compliance,
Mm.
or we can spot certain inherent issues that may potentially tantamount to something greater to rectify that. Or it could be also meaning that there's certain encroachment, there's certain deep-rooted issues. So if we can flag it out, I think to a home buyer, potentially we can identify these issues. It can then translate to other means of measure like negotiation in pricing or anticipating the renovation budget meant for that. So that the pre-purchase portion will be useful in the essence.
Right.
Yeah. On the same note for pre-tenancy, so some commercial landlords and clients also touch base with us. We also have this so-called pre-tenancy survey. So yeah, so before you rent a premise out, be a home, a landed office or not, you take note of all the things, you document it down in a very professional way on how we do a building surveying, and you have a very thorough report. So you minimize any ambiguous portion, you do, I do, who do. So at the end of the tenancy, it proves that there's this report there, and then
Mm.
everything has a baseline, so it's easy to document this down.
So
Yeah.
talking
So
about
this
the
is the before.
tenancy, right? Is it usually um is this service usually used by the landlords or the tenants when just on what you mentioned, the pre-tenancy report?
Typically is the landlord.
Typically is the
Typically
landlord.
is the landlord. Yeah,
Okay.
because I think they want to safeguard against any allegations or any miscommunication. So usually it's the landlord.
Mm.
So far, the folks that are aware of it are usually the bigger boys, bigger real estate firms, and bigger landlords. So they usually want to make sure everything is watertight. Yeah. So this
Mm.
is the recommended one.
Right.
So we move to another broad level. It's after you purchase the house. So what's next? So this is when a chartered surveyor will come in, the building surveyor will come in to do as a external validator in terms of a project management part. We don't talk too much on the interior design and the contractor portion. Yeah, so share more on the building surveying portion.
Mm.
We noticed the trend that folks nowadays, clients nowadays are very, very savvy. They know everything on the inside out. Speaking of Canvas, Renopedia, they basically got the information on what they want. And pricing is very transparent. They are very aware of that.
Mm.
So they have the knowledge, information, they have the pricing, but what lacks is the execution.
Mm.
Yeah, so the execution portion. So now the building surveyor will come in, or chartered building surveyor will come in as a project manager to say, well, for this kind of pricing, it translates to what kind of action to be done. So if it's too cheap, then the building surveyor will say, well, based on the industry trend, based on the methodology that it's doing, actually there's no way the pricing can be this cheap or this
You,
expensive.
you mean you mean
Yeah.
um
So
you,
it
you mean
comes to the
like when
validation.
when I got a quotation from an ID, and then the
Mm,
chartered surveyor can help me to validate, is this like doable? Are you talking about this
yes.
approach?
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes,
So
yes,
so
yes.
it's like the chartered
This is
surveyor.
something that within the small fraternity folks are actually speaking to us. They say, "Hey, I got 5 quotations. Everybody has a different way of writing. Is there a
Mm,
baseline or way of how to interpret this thing?"
mm.
So we actually help quite a few bit of clients that they really want a second opinion, even to decipher, hey, whoa, how come this is so cheap or how come this is so expensive?
Right, right. Because I think one fear that a lot of people have when it comes to renovating their home is that the quotation might be one quote, but after they sign on the dotted line, they pay the deposit, and then there's like a lot of add-ons later on, which they probably did not foresee that it has became like this in the first place. Is this something that
Yep.
this charter surveying can actually cover?
Yes, this is exactly what we are trying to find a gap.
Mm,
In fact, the couple of recent examples that we did was that, well, the pricing is very attractive. So we
mm,
told the client, well, this pricing can be done, but only if they exclude a certain portion of it. So if you want to ensure it's watertight, when you sign on the dotted line, do include to say that this step must be included as part of the deal.
mm,
So as we advise them, as they proceed to sign with the other, proceed on with the next event. So then they recognize that that step was not included in.
mm.
They are able to identify certain pitfalls in manner.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
So at the end
during.
of the day, I think it aims to really help the client make a better decision. We are not trying to undermine or disrupt the pricing mechanism,
Mm,
but rather at the end of the day, the clients must be sure that the money they are paying for is a valued product.
okay, got it. Right.
Mm,
So you
yep.
mentioned pre-purchase. That's where chartered surveyor come in.
Mm,
Pre-renovation, after the purchase is done, you guys come
right.
in, and then the next one is like after
Yep.
after the renovation or something.
Yeah. The next one is the after. We again don't talk about the negative part first. The after I usually do a validation of the work done, validation of the work done. So more often than not, we consider 80% of people will be happy with mostly of the items. So when we are happy with the work, usually the chartered surveyor won't come in.
Mm,
But there are also sometimes that they needed a second opinion to come in to say, well, if this is the spec that was mentioned, if this is the material that was quoted, can you come by to do a validation on whether is it correct? That's the
mm,
first tier. Then the other tier would be that, well, in terms of the methodology, are you doing in the correct sequential manner? Whether is it from a top-down approach, whether is it the waterproofing is done in the correct screening, the base coat of painting, is it correct or not? So there will be some more deeper, I would say, scrutiny on that part.
mm,
So that's 80% of the folks. Usually that will not tantamount to a building surveyor services.
mm,
The other 20%, I would say, is the more unfortunate cases where the builders or the designers or the contractors are being challenged by the homeowners. It could be the other way around, vice versa. It could be the other way around.
mm.
So that's when they need a second opinion to come in
Right.
to take things in a more professional level. Then at the end state is remediation,
Mm,
or it could be an end state into be litigation, or it end state could be just to a court case. Yeah. So again, we have been involved in a different capacity.
mm,
The fact is that because of the complexity of the building environment, there are so many trades. There can be sub trades from wet works, tiling, carpentry, porcelain, painting, superstructure, structure. There are so many,
mm.
but for to the eyes of the court, they can't be talking to 10 or 20 different sub contractors for all cases. So it's a norm in practice to say that, okay, I only want a single joint expert. I only want a single expert. And this expert can only be a building surveyor, which has an appreciation of all the different subtrades all combined to one. So I may not be the expert in, say, waterproofing, in tiling, but I understand the relationship with one another and the lack of one or the other that will impact the rest of the subtrade. So this is where I think the building surveyor comes in to give a very independent expert witness report Then with all these facts, then the judge, will make a judgment call, will make the fair assessment on what's the impact to the plaintiff or to the other folks. Yeah, so this is where the pre-purchase, post-purchase, and post-completion for renovation that you will come in.
Right. So, if I'm hearing correctly, this will definitely extends to all forms of properties, right? Like, does it extend to HDB properties, condos, and landed, all three forms of properties, or even like commercial properties and stuff like that? Is there a restriction to what kind of properties chartered surveying can be applied to?
There's no form of restriction. It straddles across all form of built environment. It can be home, HDB, condo, landed, offices as well. So it can straddle across all property types.
Okay, great. So I think this is really good information because um, I think a lot of people don't even know about the existence of this kind of service. So what you're trying to say is that chartered surveying is like a personal advisor with the consumer throughout the whole renovation process, or maybe if let's say somebody's rebuilding they bought a land, they want to rebuild a landed home, that is where you guys come in as well, right?
So on that part, yes, but lesser of that because on that note, already when we talk about rebuilding, definitely the whole QP panel has to come in, your PE has to come in, your architect has to come in. So most of the time, these are taken care by the QPs. But building surveyor will be coming mostly at the built environment, so meaning there is something there, before and after. Yeah,
Oh,
most of
okay.
the time is the built environment already, not specifically more for the rebuilding purposes.
Right. Built environment means that is the brick and mortar is already done. Is more of
Yeah,
the renovation and stuff.
enhancing, a bit of retrofitting, renovation, the cost, validation. Yeah, mostly
Okay,
on those parts.
great. So advise us like how over the past years has this been very popular with consumers, and usually how many people use, like on a percentage, if you have, I mean if you don't have it's fine, but has it been very popular that consumers use this kind of approach?
Yeah, I think the recent, I would say, 3 years, it has been picking up. It's always by word of mouth because they don't even know the existence of a surveyor, and I will always mention that the surveyor it's a very unique position where they have to know in some way the theory, but it can only be sharpened with the ground hands-on knowledge. So it takes a little bit of both. You can be very good in academic, but if you are not on ground, you may not know. While somebody on ground, they are very good in doing, but they may not know the compliance. So it's a very unique blend. So I guess we are also very lucky and very privileged to be in this position. So the take-up rate is more and more. We are seeing both ends more aggressively. So meaning the pre-purchase portion as well as the post renovation part. But that is not so something to shout about because that's usually tantamount to a dispute resolution solution
Right.
where our opinion, our comments has to come in to to be used by either parties. So, but more on the pre-purchase portion, there are a lot more significant take up for pre-purchase for landed property because as we all know, landed property is scarce and is a high value asset item. So they are usually wanting a second opinion to come by. So having a contractor is fine, having an ID is fine, having a contractor is perfect. So the challenge is always that the ID contractor or the other professionals, they are able to know one facet, but the other facet, say on the execution, the compliance, the costing, the repercussion. So somehow that little parts, the building surveyor can fill in those gaps. So I think I would say that over the past couple of years, we are seeing every year about a 20%, 30% increase for folks who take up for landed property purchase,
Right.
landed property purchase. So it's a pre-purchase site survey.
How about for private apartments and for public housing? Like, is there an increased trend of people using charter surveying service?
For those are usually for the middle and I would say the second stage and the third stage, more of those stage.
Okay, more of
Again, I think
a
the quantum, when we talk about purchasing a 2, 3, 4, 5 million property, I think the opportunity cost, opportunity cost to purchase a lemon, I think it's more heavy on that part. So for homes in condos and HDB, a lot more are engaging us for the validation process, which is the middle part They have a lot of
Doubts and stuff.
quotes, a lot of proposals. They
Right.
want us to validate, hey, which one makes sense or not. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
this is when we come in. We give a verbal, give a simple, watered down. I mean, a more, I would say, palatable report that
Right.
a home buyer
Right.
will understand.
Right.
And the other part is also on the dispute part, lah.
Okay.
Coming with a defects checklist. That is also coming out quite a fair bit.
Okay. Right. So how many chartered surveyors are there in Singapore?
There are, again, as I mentioned, chartered surveyors. They are the bulk of them are chartered surveyors for land survey, for area survey, for valuation. So they are surveyors. They are also under a broad category of surveyors.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say active building surveyors.
Right.
They are probably less than 10.
In Singapore.
Active building surveyors less than 10. Yeah.
Right. And how
So
does somebody get certified? Like, how, if let's say somebody wants to engage a chartered surveyor, how do they know that this person is certified? Like, what does the government recognize, in terms of certification and stuff like that?
Right. Okay. So Singapore, that in RSCS, there's a Asian headquarter. So it's also rscsSG.org.sg. It's they have HQ in Singapore. They have an office in Singapore. So what they did it nicely is that on the HQ registrar, they list down all the surveyors in Singapore. So if you go and scroll down, they are able to see these surveyors. So what does it take to be a surveyor? Is that it's a long journey. It's probably like what a chartered accountant, chartered insurance agent, along the form of training. As a baseline, you need to be involved in the whole trade for close to 10 years, with a good documentation log, with a mentor, taking key roles in the company, basically doing very in-depth case
Groundwork.
studies
Right.
to exhibit that. Yeah. So having done we call it the APC, the professional route training. Once that is done, you have to go through a series of interviews. So before the whole COVID, and the whole setup was that every year they will schedule 4 interviews. They will fly down the UK, Scotland assessors, and you will sit in front of the panel to have an interview on all your projects and case study. So again, once that is done ready, the evaluation is done, then they will inform you of your results. So once that the thing is done ready, you'll be given then your certification, and then you'll be recognized under Singapore, that RICS chartered surveyor. Yeah, so you'll be recognized under that already.
So Singapore, what you're saying is that Singapore only recognizes chartered surveyors from RICS, which is Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyor, which is a UK certification.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, it sounds very, very stringent. Right. It sounds like it's very, very difficult to get it.
Is.
Right. And I think the combination of like having like 10 years experience before you're awarded this certification is really a form of validation that that the experience will come into play. Not just theory, it's also experience, right?
Yes, that's right. So if we are not working in an environment, you basically have to do a lot more documentation, to be under a mentor for 2 years, write the journal and the logbook. So there's a lot of preparation logbook, which is, I think, the way forward, and this is the way it should be done, that the person holding the title should be able to represent in a very comprehensive manner on the whole built environment. So I agree on the stringent requirements, and I think it should continue this way.
Right. So, I mean, as let's say as a consumer, I think one key question is always like the costing involved to engage a chartered surveyor. I mean, based on what I've seen so far, is like this person will be like my advisor, right? So it's a advisor with an objective, professional point of view. So it safeguards my interest as a consumer. So how much does it cost? Let's say, for example, let's say somebody bought a $2 million apartment, right? And it's a resale property. They need to do maybe like 200,000 for renovation. And maybe they will only get a chartered surveyor for the middle portion, the validation. I mean, since they're going to re-renovate everything, right? So maybe they are getting someone in for the validation. Usually, what is the range of fees involved? Like, does the range of fees curtail among the size of the apartment? Is it usually this way, or is it like the length of the project and stuff like that? How does the fee ranges?
Right. Right. It's a good question. So, how usually the methodology of the pricing is usually based on two factors. Number one is the area, the GFA, because that will basically how much legwork that potentially the chartered surveyor has to embark on. Yeah, the GFA. The other is the contract sum. So these two tie hand in hand with one another. So, yeah, so as a very broad stroke, right? So if I'm just doing a project, say 1,002 square feet, project value, yeah, again back to your back to your example, is about 200,000, 2 mil. So when we talk about this kind of quantum, so the assuming again we have to validate say three quotes, yeah,
Let's say 3 to 5
3 quotes,
quotes or something.
then to help to, yeah, say 5 quotes now. Okay, say 5 quotes. Then we want to execute in the project management. So to validate the quotes itself, usually the amount of man hours we take about like to this, do that. It will quantify to validate per quotation. It's about $200. Yeah, yeah. Then to execute the project management portion, yeah, it's about to anything from 2 to 4,000. Yeah,
Right.
again depending on the complexity, whether you're importing marble from Italy, and the whole list goes on. Yeah, so at a very high level, it can be as cost effective as a couple of hundreds just to validate a number, or it can be very intense of X% of the contract sum. It can be as simple as that, say 1%, 2% of the contract sum, just to make sure that things go in hand.
Right. So you say that it
Yeah.
can be like probably per quotation validation is about $200. So maybe 5 quotations about 1,000. And then the other part that you talk about project
Yes.
management is that the part of meaning like handling the entire project, is it?
Yeah, yes. So because now the trend is that homeowners want to get themselves involved. They basically solicit, they connect with all the 10, 12, 15 subcontractors.
Right.
So which also means that they are the paymaster to their respective subcontractor. We are seeing quite a fair bit of trend now. Though on my perspective, I would recommend that, because I feel that this trade can take quite a fair bit of time. So leave it to the folks, the professional, to do that. So what we do is that we try, if we talk about the former, where the folks, the homeowners want to interface with the vendors directly, then we'll come in to tell you that, okay, this is time when the aircon should come in. Well, this is the time when the partition man should come in. Now this is the time the parking man should come in. So we will come into on that part. Yeah. But if no, you are already awarded and appointed somebody, you want then a surveyor, a building surveyor, to come in to execute the whole project as a project manager. Yeah, with
Right.
your nominated subcontractors. And that's a different skill altogether. That's a
Oh, I
different
see, I
skill
see.
altogether.
Okay, so it's like
So,
if I need somebody in the middle to handle all my subcons, then there's a project management kind of quotation and stuff. But if let's say if I
yes,
really I'm intending to appoint an ID firm that does everything, then basically it will
right.
be more of the validation portion, right?
Correct,
Okay,
correct,
got
correct,
it.
correct, correct. So on that note, then we will just come in to say, well, this amount is definitely reasonable, and this is way, and we will be involved in the sense that in the whole communication chain. So meaning in the WhatsApp group or whatnot, if they have pointed out that this is the sequence of work, if again based on our domain knowledge, well, this might not be the best way. Politely, we will give some suggestions, and maybe this is the way we could better it on the way we do it in terms of time scheduling.
So what are some of the maybe if it's possible, maybe just you do not have to quote project specific, maybe just some case studies, right? If let's say we're talking about
Right.
an apartment that has been very well renovated and then somebody's paying a premium for it. Maybe the bank valuation for this
Right.
apartment is like 2 mil, but because of the renovation that's so extensive and it's very recent, maybe in the past 3 years, it has been beautifully done up. The buyer is going to buy it for like maybe $2.2 million above valuation and stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
what are probably some case studies that you have seen before or personally handled before that because of the involvement of the chartered surveying work, there are things that the owners have prevented, and probably maybe they are still going ahead to buy it. It's just that they have foreknowledge of what is being expected in terms of the condition and stuff. So and what do you guys do? Like, when do your guys come in? Like before before the buyer makes an offer, usually is it the time that you guys come in and then you guys take a look and stuff? Like, how do you handle that kind of
Right, right.
situation, right?
Yeah, this is a very good scenario. So I will just cite one of the case study that we did. Again, no mention of names and whatnot. So this is a purchase of a very nice landed property. Again, in somewhere in District 19 or so. Yeah. So it was a beautiful two-story interterrace, and the client the prospect has very grand plans. It was very nicely renovated. A lot of very nice Oriental Chinese China product and very high end parquet oak wood material, all very very good stuff. So when the minute we go in again, this is a one time pre-purchase visit. So prior to the visit, the client already told me that he has prepared the check to give to the seller already prepared. So he just wanted a second opinion to ensure that we're on the same track, everything is fine. So as we went in, we excused the seller agent to be waiting outside. So we went in and walked one round to validate. So immediately there were a few things that caught my eye. So, but to the intended buyer, everything is perfect, it's beautiful. So after we went in, what we did was really we are using our laser pointer and we point out to the couple of area or positions. So after we're done with the visit, we went out of the premise. I highlighted to the client with a few things. Say that client, if you notice, the bedroom and the toilets, the level difference is not normal. It's not normal. So again, to a buyer, they say this is nothing, no big deal. So I said that you remember the laser pointer which I pointed to you, which identified the level difference, but when it associates to the wall, there was a very distinct patch line and a crack. So they said there is no big deal, there's nothing. So then I explained a bit further to say that this property, there is a sinking issue. This property, half of it, the first one third is recessed and sinking in.
Oh,
So
wow.
they said they didn't notice that. So I point out to the second laser pointer, the image that I showed them is that if you notice, because of this sunken thing, the front porch, the whole cantilever carport is sunk one side already.
Wow.
And there are strict watermarks coming down.
Wow.
So I said, well, this is a beautifully done place. But because of soil movement or any other external factors, in order to regularize this to ensure there's no leaking issue, no wall issue, and no other issues, you probably have to spend a couple of 100K to regularize this.
How do you regularize
so
this?
I think
how do you regularize
sorry?
this? Let's say if I'm the owner of this house that is sinking, right?
Yeah.
How do I solve the problem?
The correct way is to, of course, to engage the PE already. You engage the PE, they ensure that your foundation, your slab, your ground beam are all well catered for. You have to do your soil and
Soil test and everything.
measuring tests and all qualified. Make sure there's no external factor. Then if the structures are not sufficient, you have to brace it. You have to add in.
Wow.
So this is basically ripping out whatever end finishes you have it inside. So at that point, I really pointed out to say that this is cannot. These things were tantamount to this approach. So how it impacts the agent or impact the sale was that they had that in mind already. So whatever they intended to offer, they lowered by certain amount. But in the end,
they still bought
in a
it.
way, the sale didn't go through.
Oh, they didn't go through. Okay. What?
It didn't go through because they said that, well, in order to rectify this is the amount I'm going to incur.
Right.
So which is why I say that this building survey is a very integrity versus salesmanship kind of gray line.
Right.
So for us, we are guided by our virtue and the integrity that we need to really point out the facts that will affect the livelihood and the lifestyle and the safety portion.
Right.
So as opposed to salesmanship, So this is a case where the sale didn't proceed because they anticipated that, wow, this is the amount of work to make it work.
Right.
So that is the example.
Right. But I believe definitely the client is very thankful that this has been spotted, right? And
Right.
yeah, and I think as per what you mentioned just now, in terms of opportunity cost, because the landed property is a larger ticket item, and the amount of rectification that has to be done sometimes is really to a large extent. So it's very very well intended for this money to be spent on the pre-inspection, right? So let's say if it's like semi-D land is about maybe about 4,000, right? or maybe 3,000, 5,
Right.
4,000, build up maybe 6,000. Usually, how much
Mm,
does the pre-purchase evaluation cost in terms of the
mm.
inspection?
Understood. We offer a few two distinct in a way a mode lah.
Mm.
Because many a times when people buy, right, it is probably at the stage where they are ready to give the check already. Most of the time it's this way already. They're ready to give the check. So
Yeah,
they want a very quick assessment. They don't have time to wait for the full report.
correct.
So that is again the 80% of the people. So that one we will give a very quick verbal run through.
Okay,
Quick verbal run through. So
okay.
that amount really have to walk through the whole premise for 6,000 square feet. We probably take about 2 hours, 1.5, 2 hours.
Mm.
So that verbal rundown or description or everything, it ranges again from $400 to $600, really
Mm.
to just walk through and tell you what the immediate pitfalls.
Okay,
But some folks is that okay after saying, "Hey Jake, still give me a full report. I want to at least document it down."
okay,
So if you want a report, usually it's about 1,002 with all
okay.
the things listed down
Mm.
based on a scene basis and based on whichever date we conducted the visual inspection.
Right.
Yeah. So that is the range lah. From a verbal, it can be anything from 400. From a written inspection with a sign off, it can be 1,200. But again, this is a visual. It is non-invasive. We don't use equipment to punch through or whatnot. It's just a verbal
It's been a
inspection.
visual experience and stuff. So I would say safely. I mean,
Right.
if it's a semi is below 1,005 for this pre-inspection to be done, just to safeguard your interest, right? Right. So
Yes, that's right.
okay. So talking about the case that you had, right, for landed property. How about for apartments? Like, were there any case studies, if any, for apartment basis, like
Yeah.
leaking issues and stuff like that?
Apartment basis and no for pre-purchase no, but it's more of really the middle portion
Right.
where they done a certain renovation. They want us to validate whether is this the material, the specs that was quoted. Yeah,
Mm,
it's more of
mm.
those no pre-purchase.
Because
Again, I think
because
it's
I
maybe
think
a huge factor is the ticket item for the purchase of the property.
plus probably like strata properties, there's MCST, if there's really leaking from external wall and stuff, the MCST can help with that. Right. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah, I think it will also be very useful to maybe share like your because right now you're currently an adjunct lecturer, right, in BCA Academy, right? And I saw that you are like a resident surveyor with absolute inspection, right? And with absolute
Right.
inspection, I understand that those guys, or probably some of your friends or partners, they do inspection checks for properties that are TOP'd already. Now, what is your role there? I mean,
Yes.
as a firstly as an adjunct lecturer with BCA, and then plus a resident surveyor, what do you do there?
Okay. Right. As a adjunct lecturer in BCA, I basically teach over there.
Mm,
I teach. So it started sometime in 2012, 2011, 12. Yeah. So I started with my classmates, my old batchmates from many west. They were just saying, "Hey, Jake, are you keen to share your building knowledge and all those stuff?" So I said, "Why not?" I took it as a challenge for part-time, teaching. So 1 year led to after another. I enjoyed teaching, and interestingly, when I was teaching there, I think I was not a very good. No, I think I'm a very good teacher in the sense that I always put challenge on the plate to say that, well, if you ace this project, you're able to intern at my company.
oh
If you
wow.
can be the top student, you're able to do a special project in your free time, and things like that. Being a challenge,
Mm,
different challenges for them. So it turned out that a couple of them really took the challenge on. They said, "Well, sir, I got the best in the class. I want to work during the holidays for your job." Of course, all legit one. It's all Singaporeans and what. So again, one thing led to another. They took a flexi. They took a contract. Then eventually it turned out to be our new staff, the junior drafter, junior designer. Then he progressed to a lead designer, and in the end, progressed to really the team lead for the designing. So in fact, within ZL, the lead renderers, creator, they are all from BC Academy.
wow.
So
Okay.
that in some way, while nurturing, it became a sort of like a talent attraction point.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
and because of the fact that we are teaching on project management and technical drawing, we are able to know the details of, say, how thick the plywood is, how much drawer offset you need to give, how much is your finger groove, what is the typical thickness of a the quartz table, and how does it interface. We are more delicate in that respect when it comes to the construction sequencing. So that is my involvement in the BC Academy part as the teacher, then sort of like talent attraction point also lah for that BC Academy part. So for resident surveyor in chartered surveying is again also by stroke of chance. Got in touch with the founder of Absolute Inspection. We shared very high level of mission and vision to say that we want to make the built environment a better place. So again, by stroke of chance, we had a couple of projects inspecting together. Then we started conducting a few webinars, courses online for real estate agents as well, for to teach about how to spot defects, what are the certain high level kind of compliance and stuff. So we got the rapport and we thought it was good. Then as things develop further, projects get a bit more sophisticated. From the founder side, Absolute Inspection side, they say, well, the projects are getting more and more sophisticated. They needed a chartered surveyor to be involved. So he invited me to say, hey, why not we just be on I invite you to be on the board of Absolute Inspection. So when it comes to cases and more complex solutions, we can bundle together where Absolute Inspection side, they are really the ground staff. They are really the people, the experts that conduct the search, the defect checking. Then for myself, I will come in to certify in a whole very high level basis and to take the report and take the findings in a more legalistic manner, in a more substantial manner to take it further to other projects. So this is where the arrangement and the whole development came by.
Right. And how about like ZLC? I mean, your main company that you're running day to day, what are your unique positionings? Because I understand you guys have your own carpentry workshop and stuff,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
So what's some of the things that you guys do over there?
Well, thank you for giving me the airtime for this part because again, well, really ZLC is really our blood and soul for
3 generations, right? You say
whole life.
Right.
Yeah, this is a family business. It started from my grandfather.
Wow.
My dad is still very active in the business, and I'm now the 3rd generation taking in charge.
Right.
So we are unique. The really unique part about us is that we are a heritage business. So started in 1986. So I think we've been through quite a fair bit of up and down. Over the years, I think we have built enough domain knowledge, the technical resilience, and the weathering of those uncertain climate. So that is the part where it's very deep rooted, and this is more so during this climate that we have a lot of prospect clients. After going big round, they say, "Well, I still choose ZLC because I don't know whether the rest can survive." I say, "Well, thank you for the trust, and definitely we are keen to serve you." And the unique part about that is heritage, and the other two, it's really the in-house guys. The in-house, we have our in-house carpenter and the in-house tallers. So this, if you combine the two, this is the biggest two ticket item in any renovation.
Right.
The carpentry and the tiling, the wet works.
Right.
So this is within our in-house control. So quality, time and cost and quality. I mean, time, cost, quality. These 3 plays together. We are able to manipulate and manage it very, very well. I think this is the really, really unique part about us.
Right.
Yeah. I think then the 3rd part, or rather the 4th part that coincide with the overall thing is that myself is a chartered building surveyor. So it adds to say that, well, everything I do, I'm very proud of it. I cannot mess it up. So I always joke to my clients and prospects to say that if I mess it up, my grandfather will jump up from the grave. So it's a fact that still now we stand very proud, and we are very, very we honor what we say and really deliver what we promise. So this is really I would say the unique part about ZL.
Yeah. And I can see the kind of passion that you have for this industry. I mean, usually when somebody has passion in their own industry, they usually want to have like a broader range generalist approach. Well, you have a deep-rooted specialization, but at the same time you contribute to beef up the whole professionalism of the industry as well by being a surveyor, by helping out with absolute inspection, and plus at the same time you teach as well to give back to this particular industry. I have one question. I mean, because just now what we mentioned is the main users, it seems like a lot of buyers probably like to have the chartered surveyor by their side when they go for renovation and purchase and stuff, pre-purchase and stuff like that. How about as a seller? If let's say example, if I'm selling my place, and I want
Right.
to probably just have an assurance for the buyers that comes in, right? You know, like example, I'm selling my landed property. It's let's say a $5 million landed property, semi D or something, and the buyers that comes
Mm,
in, I want to have them to have a peace of mind, right? Am I able to engage a
mm.
chartered surveyor for the same kind of purpose? But this is a reverse approach now. I want to maybe
Yeah.
have a report on
Yeah.
my table. You know, when we talk about negotiation
Yes.
stage,
Yes.
offer stage, have a look at the report, man. It's all transparent and stuff. So, have you had sellers engage you before, and how long does this report last? Like, you know, like for
Right.
valuations,
Right.
valuation is about
It's
three
a superb
months.
question. This is a really superb question. Yeah.
Right, right, yeah. So,
So
so
sorry
yeah.
to interrupt you. So to jump to this is what we call a condition survey. Yep.
Mm,
So right from the Scotland, the UK portion, they actually have a very very good guide on that to say that you stipulate all your conditions, and you put it on the table, and you put it. Unfortunately, in Singapore, I think it has not never been heard yet. Yeah,
right.
and still a very fresh idea to have somebody to qualify your conditions, your state before you sell. So we are qualified and definitely prepared to do that.
Mm,
But as a matter of fact, we have not done it yet because I think this idea, this notion of somebody is raw, is new.
right.
And the other thing we just want to highlight, it might be a chicken and egg thing, is that
Yeah.
many a times again because landed property is very scarce and a very valued property. So most of the folks is that over the years they enhance value over it. So
Mm,
be it doing an awning, be it doing extension, lean on factor, anything, yeah. So on the contrary, by having a surveyor come in, it might identify things that you might not want to identify.
it might open up a can of
So
worms and stuff.
it becomes like a double-edged sword instead.
Right.
So again, just for open discussion, this
Right,
is
right.
we
I
might
mean, so
factor
so
that
this
in.
is like a totally new market that no sellers have ever thought of, right?
Yeah,
But I think maybe if the seller just want to know it for themselves, to in order to see what kind of probable objections that might come up along the way of the marketing, they could do it for their own. I mean, it's not necessary
yeah,
that they have to put it on the table, but it's probably for their own foreknowledge as a owner. Like, you know, how has my landed property deteriorated over the years? You know, something like that. Yeah, but I guess probably nobody want to
yes, yes,
spend that money on the report at this point in time, lah. But yeah, I was just thinking like, hey, you
right.
know, what if I'm an owner and I want to do it and stuff. So you mentioned your key audience is mainly buyers and also landlords because landlords are concerned about the condition of their place 2 years or 3 years later after the tenancy, right? So, um,
That's
is
right.
there also a rising trend of landlords doing that? And usually for landlords, what kind of properties do they do that? Is it also landed properties?
Yeah, for landlords, they are mostly, I would say, those commercial black and white houses. Yeah,
Oh
so
wow,
so they
okay,
are mostly still geared towards the residential side.
right, okay. So the
Yeah,
larger properties in a sense. Okay,
yeah, correct.
great. Yeah, I think this session has been awesome, Jake. Thank you so much. And I think we want to open up
Thank
to
you.
some questions if you have any questions. So if you guys are tuning in, I'm with Jake, the director of ZLC, and he's also a chartered surveyor, which is one of probably the 10 to I'm not sure 10 to 12 chartered surveyors in Singapore, which is they are
Building
qualified under
survey.
the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveying. And if you have any questions, just key in the comment section whether you are with us on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. Jake is happy to answer some of the questions. So maybe Jake, while we're waiting for some questions to come in, where do people find you? I mean, like what are some of the platforms that they can find you, find out about your services and stuff like that?
Right. Okay. So we are all on the common social media platforms,
Mm,
Facebook, Instagram, website. So you can check us out, ZL Construction, just one word, or Instagram ZLC_SG. And we have a very good board also on Pinterest, ZL Construction. You can check us out on that as well. So these are the usual norms. We are all there.
all right. Okay. So maybe one final question, right? What do you think are some of the renovation trends coming up in the late 2020 and 2021 in terms of the
Mm,
style of renovation? If you're talking about apartments or I mean private apartments and HDB and stuff. What is some of the renovation trends that you're seeing to be very popular or is upcoming in terms of the
Right,
theme
right.
theme of renovation?
Well,
Like,
I think right in terms of the mode of renovation first, just even before the theme and all those, I think the way the business is going to be conducted is very, very different now. So because of the circuit breaker, digitization came in, and online video conferencing coming in. So this is going to stay no matter what. This is going to stay. So we expect a lot of online consultation, online site verification, online briefing to your carpenters, online briefing to your plumbers to that. Yeah. So this is how the mode of the whole thing, the transformation has to be done. And in fact, for our company, a lot of our peers are all doing it already. In terms of the trend of the industry, I would say that the feel is to get back to simplicity now. Really, the feel is to get back to simplicity now. Because of the onset of COVID-19, the pandemic, people are more prudent in spending. So the bare necessity are still going to happen. So meaning your base grid, your tiling, your floor, kitchen, your waterproofing, your toilets, carpentry, standard ones, water are still going to be there. But we talk about a little bit more stretch, playing a bit of creativity, nice timber ceiling, feature wall. I think that will taper down quite a fair bit. I would think that will taper down quite a fair bit. The whole simplicity, the Zen feel, it's the practicality precedes the aesthetics now more.
right.
Yeah, this is when I think ZL has a slight edge in the sense that I have my idea, I know what I want to do, I just want you to execute out. So this is really the trend that we are seeing now. The practicality, no frills, more of that, fast free.
Maybe investing in more solid furnitures and stuff, but in terms of the fixture and fittings, probably they will make it to be more minimalist kind of style. That's what you're mentioning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. It's been great having you, Jake. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on a Wednesday, 12 p.m. I think it's really great knowledge for us to understand more about chartered surveying, and also this is before the purchase, before the renovation, and of course after the renovation. So these three portions actually, if you have any needs when it comes to renovating your place, or maybe just before you buy a big ticket property item, you can engage a chartered surveyor to help you with having an objective point of view and advisor by your side, just to spot out some of the things that you might want to know. You might still be definitely going ahead with the purchase, but it will be good to know as in what is to come, what's the potential amount you need to spend to rectify those kind of issues and stuff like that. So it's been wonderful to have you, Jake, with us. So if you want to find out more about Jake and his company and his services, do click on the link below. We'll insert the link when we post a replay version of this next week as well. So you can get in touch with Jake, ask him many questions and stuff like that. I'll leave it to you guys. So thank you, Jake. Thanks for coming with us, and it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, stay safe during this period.